Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm thrilled to be able to make this video. I have Colin in my arms right now. He is breastfeeding, so I will show you him here in the next few minutes. But we are matching in our stripes. I have one of the loungewear sets that I bought during the month of August when I was filming here on YouTube for Vlogust, and he's got stripies on too, so we've got some matching stripes going on. It is exactly 1 week after I gave birth to Colin, and I am feeling so good. I'm definitely still sore, and we can talk about that a little bit later, but I feel now how I felt with Nora at probably 3 to 4 months postpartum, and this has only been 1 week, so I'm just feeling super blessed about that and really relieved that this postpartum journey has been marked by such differences. So let me first start by telling his birth story, which is by far the most surprising, shocking, and one of the, now looking back, funniest things that I've ever been through in my life. So basically, I, just like with Nora, experienced prodromal labor, which is sometimes also called false labor. And basically what it means is that you are having real contractions. They're no longer Braxton Hicks contractions, but they're not building in intensity. They're not starting to come closer together. You're not going into labor. And so I had those for some of the day on Friday, all day, 15 minutes apart pretty much on Saturday. Now, some of the details are a little fuzzy because it's been a week, but to the best of my ability of remembering, I pretty much had 15-minute apart contractions all day on Saturday, and then definitely I did have them all day on Sunday. And Sunday sticks out to me because I really thought I was going into labor on Saturday night, and I wasn't. So I didn't. And so what I thought was labor was still prodromal labor. But then eventually Sunday night, I went into full-fledged labor. So what happened was on Sunday, because I wasn't in labor and I was like getting really tired, I was at that point 9 days past my due date, really tired of being pregnant, really ready to give birth. So on Sunday morning, we got up and I was like, let's just go to church. And so I had contractions every 15 minutes through church, and then we went out to breakfast. We went to Cracker Barrel for breakfast, and I had contractions every 15 minutes through Cracker Barrel. And then we came back home. I took a nap. I believe it was either Saturday or Sunday that I hooked up to the breast pump, and I was drinking tons of red raspberry leaf tea, which can help trigger, labor if your body's already just about there. Like really strong concentrated red raspberry leaf tea, like 8 tea bags in a cup kind of thing. And so that was like all day Sunday. I took a nap, I believe, and rested some, but took walks. I was just like ready for this baby to come. But those little 15-minute apart contractions, I had to breathe through them, but I was like sitting on the back porch talking to my mom through them and going about my normal day. And so I was like, I'm not thinking these are really adding up to anything. By the evening, I had a couple of contractions that I needed to really stop and breathe through, but they were sporadic. Again, we're not building in any kind of rhythmic pattern. And so I texted my doula and my birth photographer and my midwives, my whole birth team, and just let them know nothing's really happening. So I was advised to go ahead and take a Unisom because that might help my body relax enough to go to sleep and get some rest, because clearly labor was around the corner. I was at that point, like I said, 9 days past my due date. So on Sunday night, we were watching the football game for a while, and then we watched some TV. And then probably right around 10:30, I took a Unisom and I got in bed. And then at 10:45, I woke up and these contractions had torqued up in intensity like tenfold. And so I went into my bathroom and I was standing at the bathroom sink and I was just leaning over the bathroom sink and swaying my hips. And the first couple that came were probably 7 to 8 minutes apart. And I was just kind of like breathing through them. And then within a matter of an hour, everything changed so fast. So, well, within a matter of an hour, I would say. So what happened was I'm kind of moaning through them, breathing through them. Riley's still asleep. I didn't wake him up because I had been going on with this prodromal labor for so long. I'm like, well, at least he can get some sleep. I'll just be up dealing with these. I had taken a bath before bed and that things had really stalled out. So I just was not believing that I was going into labor anytime, that night. Wrong. So by 11, so that was like 10:45, I got up, they started getting stronger. By 11:30, 11:45, I knew for sure I was in real labor because I was really having to vocalize through the contractions, which means like usually a low moaning sound, and is very, very indicative of real active labor. Oh, you want that? He's so sweet. He's the sweetest little pumpkin. So the timeline is a little fuzzy because I was in labor land, but basically sometime around 11:45, so about an hour after I got up out of bed, after having just taken a Unisom to go to sleep, I woke up Riley just with my noises. I didn't go in and physically wake him up. And then I started shaking uncontrollably, like I had a rush of adrenaline. My whole body was shaking. My teeth were chattering. My arms and legs were shaking. And so I texted my doula and said, I just started shaking uncontrollably. And so then she said, it's time for you to head to the birth center. So this was like 11:45. So because normally when you're in active labor, you have, especially, after Nora's 12 plus hour labor, like active real labor for 12 plus hours, I'm thinking, well, we probably have like 6 hours or so. So we did not dilly-dally, but we certainly were not racing around the house. And I was still having these contractions, every 5 minutes. And then it was like every 4 minutes. And then it was every 2 minutes. It's very quickly. And they were 10 out of 10. And so Monica, my mother-in-law, came over to, Nora was already in bed asleep. So Monica came over to be in the house so that obviously we didn't leave Nora alone. So she got here and we loaded up Riley's truck with the birth box and all the things, the food that we had, snacks and labor snack, all this stuff. And by the time we were out on the road heading out of town, it was 12:23. And I remember because I still was having contractions with some space at that point. And so I looked at the clock and thought, okay, 12:23. So we'll be there by 1:23. That's great. So we start driving out of town. The birth center's 1 hour away. Typically it takes just about almost exactly 60 minutes. Oh. Okay, 1 second. Okay, here's Colin. Oh! He's a very good burper after he eats. He also is what they call a happy spitter, where he's not screaming and crying, but he just spits up a lot. Nora never did that. I feel like I want to tuck my hair behind my head, but I don't have any more free arms. So 12:23, we get in the truck. My mom was with us. She was staying in our home, and I didn't want to sit in the front seat. So because I wanted more space. So I opted to sit in the back seat. So in the back seat, I was sitting directly behind Riley, the driver. And then in the passenger side, there was the infant car seat. So there's nothing in the middle or in my seat, but there was an infant car seat. So we get on the road. I had obviously at this point alerted my birth team. We're heading down there. Things are starting to intensify. I am genuinely thinking at this point, even though they're coming 2 to 3 minutes apart and they are very, very strong contractions, I am very much thinking I probably have another 3 to 4 hours minimum before I'm birthing any baby. At least. My midwife said typically women have about half the time in labor. That's typically what they see with their second. It's always different, but they see that typical pattern a lot. So I had labored for about 12 hours with Nora. I'm thinking, okay, I've already been in labor here for a couple of hours. Let's say I'll probably have another 4. It'll probably be about 5 or 6 hours total. So we get on the highway to start the trek down to my birth center. And literally, as soon as we get on the highway, the contractions are double peaking contractions, meaning you get to the height of the intensity of the contraction and then it goes up another level and they're not stopping. They are like waves crashing over you, one on top of the other on top of the other. There was no break. There was no downtime. It was just the most intense sensation, the most intense physical sensation I have ever experienced in my life was being in the backseat of that truck with these enormous contractions just coming and coming and coming. And it was very stressful because I felt like I couldn't get on top of them with my breathing. I felt really like calm and peaceful and in control when I was laboring with Nora. I had a couple of moments of like losing it a little bit, but my birth team helped me get back on track. And this time I felt like I could not find that any sense of serenity because I was just it was just so intense and they were just coming one after the other. So I'm in the back seat. I eventually end up laying my head on the side of the infant car seat. And so I'm laying like curled up in the back seat, just laying down because that was more comfortable than sitting up. And I'm like hanging on to the edge of the car seat and just trying to in any way breathe through these contractions. But man, it was like tough times. So I'm just like moaning and moaning and moaning and moaning and moaning and moaning. And like just at one point I yelled out, I need a break. And my mom said she felt so bad for me at that point because it was very obvious I wasn't getting a break because they could tell that my body was not letting up because it was just like, it just kept going and going. So 30 minutes into the 1 hour drive, I absolutely felt his head starting to crown. And in my mind, for like 5 minutes, I thought, there's no way. There's no way his head is crowning. I'm not having a highway baby. And I've only been in labor now for a little while. And these strong, intense contractions have only been going on for like an hour to 2 hours. Like there's just no way. So I didn't say anything. And then I heard in my voice when I was getting through a couple of contractions, a grunting sound like, ugh. And I was thinking, that means my body's starting to push. So out loud, I said to Riley and my mom, which Riley already had his foot on the gas, let me tell you what. I said out loud, I'm starting to push. I can feel his head. I, in Laborland, thought we were very, very close to the birth center. Like we were about to turn in. We were still 30 full minutes away. So Riley called the midwives and they were on speakerphone and they could hear that grunting, pushing sound. If you have ever been through unmedicated childbirth, I've also heard that some women who have an epidural, they turn it down or off during the pushing stage, have experienced this as well. But it's like, they call it the fetal ejection reflex. And it is like a freight train coming that you cannot stop. You cannot stop your body from pushing. You cannot. Your body is doing it without your consent. You can slow it down with your breathing a little bit, but really there's no stopping, which is why you hear about people having babies in highways. And almost this video was me telling you that I had a baby on the side of a highway. So we're 30 minutes out still. They put the midwives on speakerphone and the midwives can hear it. And they're saying, okay, Blair, they're so sweet. They're like calming voices. And I am just like, oh my golly, in another place. And they're like, we need you to breathe like you're blowing out birthday candles. Breathe like you're blowing out birthday candles. So they want me to just like just slow it down so I'm not putting any extra oomph behind these contractions because they are doing enough on their own. And I was like, I can't. Riley said, he's like, with every time they told you to do that and you said you can't, I felt like my foot went a little harder on the gas, and he was driving as fast as he could. He put his flashers on, absolutely driving like a crazy person trying to get to the birth center. Luckily, at this point, it was 1 a.m. So there was no traffic by the grace of our Lord and Savior, because genuinely during the day, it would have been an I-35 baby. Yeah, you would have been an I-35 baby. So we are getting closer and closer and closer, but like I can feel the head crowning. There's no other feeling that feels like that. And I was laying there and I had pants on. Clearly, I mean, I would imagine you would have guessed that I had pants on. And I was laying there in the back seat thinking, how am I going to get these pants off? This baby's coming out. And like when you're in that stage, that late stage of labor, literally anything feels impossible. And I was like, I can't move. I can't get these pants off, but I have to. I need to get them off. I need to get them off. And I remember like tugging at my waistband and being like, how am I going to get these off? I have to get this. Baby is coming. This baby's coming. So finally my mom's like, okay, Blair, we have, 6 minutes left or whatever. You can do this for 6 minutes. So I'm just trying so hard not to push or anything like that. But it is like my body doing the work for me. And I just in my head was like, okay, so I'm going to have a baby on the side of a highway. And the midwives were saying, to me, they're like, if you start to feel the head come out, you are going to pull over immediately. And I was like, I can feel him crowning. They said, but if you feel the head come out, you have to pull over and we will come to you. And I'm like, oh, absolutely not. I did not go through this whole pregnancy. I'm not doing all this to have a highway baby, but I really almost did. So we are whipping around, getting, going through these empty night streets. We finally pull into the birth center. We're starting to drive down the driveway, and my water breaks like it breaks in the movies. It just was like pop, and it was like someone had taken a huge water balloon and just burst it with their fists in the back seat of Riley's really pretty much brand new truck. Sorry. So my water breaks. I'm like, my water broke, but thank God we were already in the Origins parking lot, and my midwives were standing outside in the parking lot with a delivery kit because they thought, we really might be having a baby like here and now in the parking lot. So they fly over, they swing open my door. I'm like, my water just broke. And they're like, we're going to get you inside right now. And I said, I can't walk. There's no way. And they're like, you can do it. We're going to do it. So I had to put my arms around them, and they pretty much carried me straight up into the birthing suite. And all I kept thinking the whole drive, which was the most intense thing I've ever done in my life, that drive, I was like, I just want to go get in the water. I just want to go get in the water. And I had not been planning a water birth at all. In fact, I had said, I just want to labor in the water. I don't want to give birth in the water. But once I got to that place, I just wanted to be in the water, just any kind of relief from the pressure. So they swing open the door, they help me out, I hobble inside with my arms around their necks. They literally, we are like ripping my clothes off me. I remember like pulling off my shirt, and one of the midwives pulled my pants off and like just trying to like help me. And then I put my hands on the edge of the bathtub, the birthing tub, and I said out loud, I don't know how I'm going to do this, which is so funny to me now because it's like, swing your leg over and get in the tub. But it's in that late labor, you just can't, everything feels impossible. And they were like, basically, they told me after, they're like, it was then, you were either having the baby leaning over the birthing tub or you were getting in. And so they said in a gentler way, like, if you'd like to get in the water, now is the time. Now is the time. So I somehow mustered the energy to like flip my legs over, and I got in. And the midwife, I remember her saying, if you'd like to labor, if you'd like to be on all fours, because I had like my legs in front and my knees tucked under me, you need to make sure your bottom is all the way in the water. And I was like, okay. And it's like, again, like this like complicated trying to figure out how I'm going to do that. But I lowered my body into the water. And all of this whole thing of getting out of the truck, getting in probably took 5 or 6 minutes. No kidding. Within the next 2 minutes of getting into that tub, he was completely out and on my chest. Yeah, you came fast and furious, Bubbas. You almost came on the side of the road. We almost had a Texas Motor Speedway baby, like literally. So he comes out and, well, first of all, when I was leaning over the tub to try to swing my leg over, the midwife said 5 centimeters of head visible, 7 centimeters of head visible, 9 centimeters of head visible in that quick succession. So like this baby was coming one way or the other. So like I said, I had gotten in the tub. It's such a blur. It was so fast. So as his head was coming out, I was trying so hard to stay on top of my breathing and just not push and just let my body do the work so that it would be as gentle as possible, because many of you know the last time with Nora, she had her arm up by her head. It's called a nuchal arm. And that really caused me some injury. And so I was trying, and this baby was in a much better, he was like in a torpedo position, which I had prayed for and hoped for and done the work for my whole pregnancy. So anyway, he comes out, they put him on my chest, and you'll see in the pictures, and whenever my birth videographer finishes up the video, you will see, when I say I have genuinely never been more shocked in my entire life by anything ever. Nothing even comes close, nothing. I was so shocked that this baby had already come out of my body. He came out and like I couldn't even look at him because my mind was still back here at my house laboring. I just was in shock. I literally there's a picture of it. I'll put it in here. I put my hand over my eyes right after he came out, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this baby just came out of me. I'm done. Oh my gosh. So he came out, and I had delivered the head so slowly, and I was so proud of myself for, because he had been crowning like for 30 minutes, and then by the time we got there, and so I hadn't had any tearing or anything like that with the head. And then when the shoulders were coming out, I was doing the same thing of breathing, but he came out in one fell swoop. And so I did tear then, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So, which that happens to some women and they don't, but obviously my tissue is just more sensitive and it just doesn't hold up as well as some other people's. So anyway, he comes out, I hold him. He was just the cutest. I'd like look down at him. First of all, he looked and continues to look so similarly to Nora when she was born. So it was like the sweetest little deja vu to see his little squishy face. Like he has his own look, but he looks a lot like Nora. And so I'm looking down at him. Riley was up to my side. And Riley was like, oh my gosh. And my mom was standing kind of like in front of me, and she just had her hands over her mouth, and she was just literally sobbing. And she was sobbing tears of absolute joy, but also relief, because she said to me as we were driving down there, she's like, Blair, I just kept thinking, I'm going to have to be the one to deliver this baby. Riley's not going to know what to do. I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to deliver my own grandchild. I don't know. And then Riley later, when we were like talking about the birth, Riley was like, Kelly, I was hoping you were going to be on deck to deliver because I was not. My mom was like, I knew it. I knew you were going to make me do it. So she was like so relieved she didn't have to deliver a highway baby. And she was so happy that he was here and we were safe and everything. So he comes out. The placenta comes out, which I had a retained placenta last time. This time it came out perfectly smoothly, everything. I didn't hemorrhage this time, so I had no additional blood loss other than what is normal, which has made an incredible difference in my recovery this go around. I did not realize how significantly that hemorrhage, how much that like literally and physically drained me when I gave birth to Nora. I had hemorrhaged quite a bit after I had her, and I felt like it took so long to start getting my energy back. But when you lose blood, that does happen. Well, this time I only lost, what is normal and standard with birth. And I just felt so much better. So he comes out. I'm shocked. He's so sweet and cute and squishy and just perfect. He did like a little bit of crying, but he wasn't like wailing or anything like that. He was in the warm bath in the warm water on my chest. He was just so relaxed. It was really sweet. So eventually we get out of the tub. I go lay in the bed, and just like when I had been in labor a couple hours before, and the same thing did happen also after I gave birth to Nora, that sort of adrenaline kick hit again, and I had the shakes. And so I was just shaking really uncontrollably. It seems like a silly thing, but it's a really uncomfortable, annoying thing to happen, because you're like, okay, I just want to hold my baby and I just want to physically relax my body, and I can't because my whole body is trembling. So they gave me a warmed up towel and a warmed up blanket and put it over my whole body. And within a few minutes, I was able to, relax and breathe. And it was just really, really nice. So I held him on my chest, and then Riley had him on his chest for a long time. And they were checking me to see what kind of damage had been done. This was the part that I was really not looking forward to, because obviously it was such a hard thing with Nora. So they checked me and said that I had a 2nd-degree tear. And so that involves the skin and some muscle. And with that, we had already previously discussed that if I had any tearing that needed surgical repair, meaning I needed suturing, that I would be transferring to the local hospital for that, because I wanted to remain in the care of one provider, and the midwives are only allowed to be like looking after me for the 6 weeks postpartum. And with Nora, it took so many months, and I wanted an obstetrical surgeon to do the repair so that I could go back to the obstetrical surgeon if I had any issues, because it was such a dumpster fire with Nora. So that's what we did. So I enjoyed the time at the birth center for a little while longer. He was 8 pounds, 14 ounces, which was my guess when they were putting him in the scale. I said, I'm going to guess 814, which is what I was as a baby at birth. And I felt that's just like, I thought he was going to be 814, and he was 814. So mama knows best on that, but I didn't know anything else about this labor and birth. Everything else was a surprise. And he was 21¼ inches. And he was born at 1:23. So we left our house for an hour drive at 12:23, and he was in this world by 1:23 with 8 minutes to spare. Really not even to spare. We pulled into the Origins parking lot, and he was out into the world in 8 minutes. It was so wild. It was after he came out and the shakes went away and I calmed down. We literally sat in that birthing suite and cried laughing, because it was the most insane thing that any of us had ever been through. So then what we had to do was go do a stop at the hospital. Now, my midwives have contacts with several local hospitals and have really good relationships with the doctors there. So my midwife had called one of the obstetricians there who specializes in surgery, and called and said, here's the deal, whatever. And so they were ready for me. I went right in. My mom came in with me, and Riley, unfortunately, had to stay in the car with Colin. You were not allowed to I couldn't bring my baby in, which I had just had him. But he was sound asleep in his car seat, and it was only going to be a pretty quick procedure, and it was. So I wasn't too concerned, but it was kind of sad, to have to separate. So my mom came in with me so Riley could stay with Colin in the car. So we went in, we went up. This doctor was so fantastic, so wonderful. I just loved him. And he had this great bedside manner and a really calming demeanor. And he was like, congratulations on your baby. I'm going to get you all fixed up. And this is what I, specialize in, and all this stuff. And one of the main issues I had with my recovery with Nora was that the suture material that was used is called Vicryl, if I'm not wrong, which I think is the pretty much standard suture material that's mostly used. And my body rejected it. It did not dissolve it. It did not take to it. And so that was the number one main issue that I had with recovery, was that the Vicryl stitches didn't work. So I explained this to this surgeon, and he said, Well, you're in luck because he was an older man. I'm actually trained and only use, what's it called? Chromic? I think it's called Chromic. All of my nurses and doctors out there who are watching are like, yes or no. It's a different type of suture material. He said, I really only use that. That's what I was, trained to use. And I was like, if that's not the Lord providing for me in this moment, I don't know what is. I was just so grateful. So he sutured me up, and it was, it's no fun, but obviously I was numbed. He did it, and it didn't take that long, and he was like, it's really not a bad injury, and it really should come together very quickly, and you should be feeling better. And he scheduled a follow-up appointment, which I've already been to the first one, and then I have a second follow-up appointment with him at the end of this month. So we're just being super, super careful just because the last time things went awry. But so far, I feel great. I feel like everything's coming together just great. I just feel great. As far as all of that's concerned. I did have one day where I was having like a really deep, like throbbing pain, and it like totally freaked me out. But it was the same day that I had scheduled my first follow-up with him, which was, 5 days postpartum. And when I went in, he was like, there's just the muscles coming back together, the skin's coming back together. There is some pain associated with that, but everything looks great. There's no signs of infection. There's no signs of issues. The stitches are dissolving properly. And it was just like, oh, thank goodness. So that is the birth story of my sweet Colin. He is so sweet. He is like the most contented, peaceful, sweet potato baby. I'm so obsessed with him. I can't even tell you. I just love him so much. His birth story is something I will never, ever, ever, ever forget as long as I live. My mom will never forget it. Riley will never forget it, and we will never let him forget it. Because we were 8 minutes from having a roadside baby. 8 minutes. When I tell you I felt my body crowning in the car 30 minutes from my birth center. Ooh, girl, there are no words. I was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? But we made it, and it was just, it ended up being such a great birth and the whole thing just went so well and so smoothly. And, the repair went really smoothly, and just postpartum so far, there's ups and downs with postpartum. There's the hormonal crashes. Your milk comes in. A lot of women, including me, both times, they call it the milk blues. Sometimes, usually on day 2 or 3 postpartum, when your milk comes in, the hormones that trigger that just make you feel really depressed, sad, weepy. And so I did have one evening where I was really, really weepy. We're all adjusting really well. Nora has definitely had an adjustment too. Poor thing. Some days she is doing really well. Some parts of the day she's doing really well. And then some parts of the day she definitely struggles. It's hard that I can't pick her up right now. That's really hard to explain to her. So just trying to spend time with her in other ways. And I really can't get on the floor very well yet. And I'm trying to I feel so much better than I did last time that I am really trying to rein myself in and not push it, because I feel like I can get up and do laundry and dishes and move around. And last time I couldn't do any of that. So she's adjusting well. She definitely loves her baby brother. She comes in and she loves to rub his head and tell him night-night and kiss his head and talk about his little ears. And it's just really sweet and cute. Yeah, you. But there are definitely moments where it's hard for her too, as expected. It's hard. That's for all of us. There are really sweet moments, and there are definitely some hard moments. So we've gone on a couple very short outings just for me to get out of the 4 walls of my house. Today we went to a newborn photo studio to get newborn photos taken of Colin, and it was a really fun experience. He looked so cute. Oh my gosh. All swaddled up. And then she did some shots of him naked and his little chubby booty, and it was just so, so cute. So that was a really, positive experience. So I had prayed my whole pregnancy. The 2 main prayers that I had prayed were, one, for him to be in a good position. And I had also done the things that I knew to do, spinning babies and this and that, to try to help encourage him to be in a good position, because as I've talked about in previous videos, that was the main issue with Nora's birth in all ways, was that her positioning was so poor. in my belly. So that was the first thing that I prayed for. And the second thing that I had prayed for and prayed for and prayed for was that this birth would be different. I just kept praying, Lord, please let this be different. Please let this postpartum and this birth just be different, because there were things about Nora's that were just really, really hard. And I didn't even know which parts of it I wanted to be different. I just kept praying for it to be just, I just pray that it's going to be different. And there's a verse in the Bible that says, it's the Lord speaking, and he says, see, I am doing a new thing. It's going to make me cry. And there were so many times throughout my pregnancy that I had friends say to me things like, I just feel like God is doing a new thing with this birth. It's just going to be something different. And like, they didn't know that that's what I had been praying. And I just felt like the Lord had said that to me, like, I'm doing a new thing. And then I almost had this car baby, and it was so different, and it was such a new thing. And then this postpartum has been marked by laughter and joy and healing, and it's not been perfect, but it's been a new thing. And I'm so grateful. I'm just so, so grateful. I walked through my personal pit of hell after I had Nora. Severe postpartum depression and anxiety, really, really painful body issues for months and months and months. I mean, I had her in October, and I didn't start feeling better until late February, like excruciating pain for months. And this time I'm 1 week postpartum. I feel really, really good. I feel whole. I feel like I'm healing really well. My mood overall has been so stable and good. I just feel like I'm just so grateful. I'm just so, so grateful. God was so kind to us. And I never would have written my birth story like how it came out. In a million years, I never would have written it like that. But I'm so grateful for it because it's like the funniest, craziest story. You should hear my mom tell it. She's a really funny storyteller. It's just, I'm so grateful for it. I just love that it was something so unexpected. It was so different. God's like, you want different? I'll give you different. Instead of 12 hours in labor, I'll give you, like an hour in labor. How about that? And so anyway, I'm just so grateful he's here. He's healthy and safe, and I'm healthy and safe, and we're doing really well, and we're adjusting as a family. So, gosh, I want to wipe my tears. Whew. All right, now that I've been talking for almost 40 minutes, I'm going to show you this little smushers. He's sound asleep. Sorry, the lighting is not good. There you go. There you go. He is so, 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 so sweet. You see him? There we go. Oh, doesn't he look like Nora as a newborn, for those of you who have been around that long? Oh, he's just the most peaceful, sweet little angel baby. I just love him. Anyway. So that's my birth story with baby Colin. He's here, he's safe. Thank you for all your support, your prayers, your well wishes, for all of you who have been following along throughout this pregnancy and hoping for something different for me as well. I appreciate that so much, and those prayers were answered big time. So anyway, Riley's out with Nora right now, and they'll be home any minute, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about his birth story. I will check in when I can. I will film when and where I can. I'm just feeling in such a better place. There are some hard moments, but overall I'm in such a better place than I was with Nora, especially at this point with her. So, I'm just grateful for something different, truly. So thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye.